Hello everyone, today's interview is with Professor Dalia Bankauskaite, an expert in security policy, strategic communication and political advisory. She currently holds positions as Senior Fellow at the Center for European Policy Analysis, CEPA, and Professor at Vilnius University. Also, she is an expert at Swedish Defence University. Throughout her career, she has navigated the complex intersections of academia and practical policy making, providing valuable insights into European security challenges and effective communication strategies. Today, we have the privilege of delving into her thoughts on various topics ranging from communication, emerging security threats, to the role of international collaboration in addressing global challenges. Join me now as we explore the multifaceted world of security policy, Professor Dalia Bankauskaite. Professor Dalia, thank you very much for accepting our invitation. I've given a quick introduction about you, but how would you introduce yourself to us? Who is Professor Dalia Bankauskaite?
Thank you for having me here, and happy to talk about strategic communication, about security as you defined. We are at communication faculty, Vilnius University. So first of all, I'm a teacher, a lecturer, and it's a great honor to teach master course on Stratcom, on strategic communication, first of all. Also, I teach public diplomacy as a soft power means to achieve foreign policy goals. So you see, still I'm in the field of security, but from the soft side of security.
You've been working at the Center for European Policy Analysis, CEPA, for more than 8 years, and at the International Relations Center in Poland for more than 7 years. If I might ask you, what motivated you to join these institutions, and what responsibilities you have there?
First activity after graduating from London School of Economics was to venture into strategic communication field. At that time, my country, Lithuania, was applying for the EU membership, and me being newly graduated, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs suggested that I should take care of communication of the country. That is, my task was to gain support, public support for the EU membership. At that time, this is the first introduction when that was the way I ventured into, as I say, it's soft power field, where we're dealing with the willpower of people, willpower of people to achieve certain goals. At the same time, later on, I had my colleagues that generated me quite a good social network, professional network, and I was invited by the Center for European Policy Analysis, it's Washington, D.C. based, 8 years ago, when the information environment, information policy and politics became extremely topical. It happened after the annexation of Crimea, and information operations, disinformation, misinformation, malinformation became very topical as a security issue. Again, dealing with the willpower of society, of individuals, of communities, or at the national level. So it is security issue. If you want, can be a defense issue. This is one American think tank focusing on European activities looked into the information environment and information security in our part of the world.
I've joined a class of yours where we discussed this information. As an expert in that field, what do you think are the dangers and the risks and the consequences of this information, and how can individuals, organizations, or even nations and countries tackle the issue and the danger of this information? How can we deal with it? How can we counter it?
Short answer, if really to answer to the question how to counter disinformation. So I would say asymmetrically. it should be a symmetric approach. You can do debunking, which is important, and it is important to monitor what narratives are circulating, what information, and what identifying what might cause one or another, provoke one or another behavior of society, individual, or community. But if really to counter it, it's extremely important critical thinking. And there are more than one factor. First of all, to be strong in your identity. Secondly, to really that goes together, perceive your collective memory, what role it plays for your creating your identity. And third, really to have media and information literacy.
What do you think are the dangers of disinformation?
Yes, there's a direct danger. Information, as any communication, is first of all, you communicate in order to make an impact, an effect of your opponent, your target audience behavior, affecting your perception of the world, leading to the behavioral change. Mm-hmm. So any information given, you communicate information for the effect of for the behavioral impact. So if that information has a malign target, so you actually manipulate individuals, society, you sow, for example, fear, you sow distrust, and the person behaves one way, knowing one information. If you ensure transparency, you build the argument and you explain. It takes much longer, but again, you have another impact on an individual, on a community, on a group of people, or society as such.
How do we balance the need for security measures with the considerations of maintaining democratic values and civil liberties? How do you think we can maintain these liberties with taking the required or the necessary security measures?
It's a very serious question, and thanks for asking it. In a nutshell, this is about democratic societies. The values are number one, even if the democratic values, freedom, trust, respect to people, human rights, transparency, accountability, fair game as much as possible. So all these values that liberal democracies stand for is not empty words, although it seems very intangible. But gives very tangible results. So actually, this is the core that you have to build in the society, ensuring proper, effective governance of society, of a state, if we talk about the state, or organizations, regional organizations like, for example, the European Union. So it's easier to say than to do, because it's a long-term exercise. Not providing answers to people, not responding to their needs, not ensuring social cohesiveness, and not encouraging the feeling of justice, fairness within the society, opens vulnerabilities that then malign people, malign organizations prey on these vulnerabilities within the society.
Mm-hmm. As an expert at the Swedish Defence University, what do you see as the main challenges for security in Europe and the world?
I work as an expert, cooperate as an expert with the Swedish Defence University in the Baltic Sea region security program. So my focus, geographic or geopolitical focus, is Baltic Sea region. Sweden recently became the NATO member, so we have our security in the region increased much more. And since being a person of a soft power side, we look. The purpose is to enhance interoperability on the northern side of the Baltic Sea, and among the Baltic Sea countries, that is eastern side. To say in a simple, what we exactly do, it's really looking into another term, total defense or comprehensive defense. And this is, I'm looking into whole of society aspects when the society and the government interact in the way to enhance security. Because security, as I said, it's not only military, hard power, but it's also soft one. That is society's willpower to act, proactive nature of society, capability to anticipate risks, anticipate disruptions, and be ready to prepare, and then if that happens, to be capable to adapt, transform yourself and recover and to transform to a new quality and to continue your functioning, your viability as a society.
Mm-hmm. I know you are an expert in the Baltic Sea countries, but if I may ask, how can European countries collaborate with non-European countries in terms of maintaining or improving security globally?
It depends. Again, security aspects or security becomes a very popular term, very close to. So we have to define what particular security. If in principle is just partnerships, trust to each other, and more partnerships in different ways. Students exchange, education, business exchange, trade, investment, if that's possible, but should be based on a fair game rules. Mm-hmm. With partners, it's really information is experience and expertise sharing. For example, I'm engaged in the project now in Armenia, consulting Armenia on state communication structure construction. So it's extremely challenging exercise in the 21st century to see how to make the state institutions functioning and being interoperable in communication field in order again to build the state and the society as such as a one unit, not encouraging more horizontal than vertical relationship.
Mm-hmm. You work now on research about societal resilience in the context of a war in Ukraine, but I'm going to ask a broader question, mm-hmm. which is, what makes communities stronger and more resilient than other communities in facing conflicts? We see now the situation, even in Gaza, is mm-hmm. dire, where people are not just subjected to the threat of being killed, but even the deprivation of food, electricity, mm-hmm. and all the basic needs for proper living. But let's take Ukraine as an example, as it's your research subject. How do you think communities can be more resilient in facing conflicts? And what makes these societies and communities more resilient in that context?
Resilience and societal resilience. This is the field that I'm in. I'm working, as you rightly pointed or noted, that I'm working on drafting resilience curriculum for military audiences, first of all for military audiences, because military usually tend to think in a professional military terms, and to explain that how society can contribute to the security and defendability of societies. Now, what makes one nation more resilient than the other, like we have like the war against Ukraine, war in Europe. So Ukraine gives a lot of thought how nation all of a sudden nation is so resilient. One thing, if we talk about if we talk about Ukraine, so you see that there are more than one factor. First of all, they were invaded. So it's already the feeling of justice and injustice that Russia decided that Ukrainian nation has no right to choose their future and invaded, attacked, full-scale invasion, war, killing. So it's already the feeling of defending yourself, feeling of justice. Second thing is their identification themselves as a nation. And third, they were already preparing and developing skills of societal resilience, building structures when, as I said, society, private sector, and governments were preparing for crisis critical situations. It's not only war. It can be the pandemic. It can be climate change. It can be storm. It can be refugees influx. So many different disruptive actions when society works together with the government to survive and to continue functioning as a society, as a state.
Talking about your role as a professor at Vilnius University, you teach courses in the international communication program. First, how do you define the concept of international communication and why it's important?
I try to focus on strategic communication in international relations, just showing this macro level when subjects are states or international organizations, and that strategic communication in one or another way, depending on the programs, on targets, actually contribute to the state crafting, part of the state crafting of exercise or policy. So in international relations, I would say it's a communication or strategic communication facilitates or impedes fluency of international relations, because if we talk about malign information, so it has another purpose, to impede or to further your own goals. If it is intensify, build international relations, effective international relations, you have to communicate in a very simple way. That's.
Mm-hmm. How do you see the role of technology and now AI shaping international communication, and in terms of opportunities and challenges?
It's very, I mean, nicely, you put very nicely. It's information technologies, AI, it's opportunities as well as challenges or vulnerabilities. It's as everything. Information is a very useful thing and might be very dangerous, so it's the same. So nowadays, technologies actually helps to be extremely fast and to reach huge and scale in reachability. I don't think that they, honestly, I don't think that they increase the content, augment the content of the messaging of information as such, but just makes it more circulating, more intensively exchange of information and reactions. So, it's a major task for people working in strategic communication, communication field, that it's a 24 or 28 hours per day to be all the time very fit and really forming. Stratcom people should forget working till 5, just because you have to be always very fit and very much tuned in developments.
How do you teach individuals to employ persuasion techniques in their communication strategies?
As you said, it's already very technological things. Techniques are techniques, so you have to know. It's an interdisciplinary exercise when you have to put together psychology, sociology, anthropology, history, culture, as well as political science, as well as legal knowledge, as well as public administration. That's why I say that Stratcom people, strategic communication people, if really want to be effective at this micro level, tactical level, that's persuasive techniques, planning, have to be multidisciplinary people.
What do you think are some common misconceptions and the challenges people face when it comes to understanding media literacy? We've touched already on media literacy briefly, but what do you think are the challenges that people face in understanding media literacy?
The first challenge is that they take they read the meaning as a dictionary entry. Media literacy. So, but media means, as a multidisciplinary thing. First of all, you have to be able to process information, to be able to know where to find, how to find, and your ability to analytically to work with it. So there are more than one thing just to look for one or another paragraph, but to see the consistency and be able to start the thought and to finish the thought up to the very end and present the analysis answering why your audience have to listen, to read, to see whatever you produce, unless you want to spam the space. That's also might be the purpose. So media literacy, it's to do with the creativity, with the education, intellectual capabilities, your culture tastes, your ability to be comfortable with all gadgets and IT technologies. But the key thing is you have to know what you want to say, what for you demand the attention of your audience. Or if you are an audience, so you also have to understand that you are the target.
How do you perceive the international communication program at Vilnius University contributing to the success and the growth of its students? How do you see it's playing a positive role and it's preparing them for the future? I could say that's, there are two audiences, students and me as a teacher. The international communication course, especially that it is containing master course of international students coming from different parts of the world, I see major advantage. First of all, they come. Master students are already mature people with certain experience, and it's a great privilege when you have students that have already work experience. So their choice to do master is already a factor of analytical capacities of a person and of motivation. Secondly, they come from different countries, so they bring their perception of world, their culture, and their backgrounds. So there's a synergy, like a teacher and the audience students, but also there's a synergy among students that actually again augments the quality of the course. Third, I think that being partially practitioner as a teacher, I can also translate the theoretical part to show how it works in practice or what might not work or what are the risks. Also, we really make an effort to invite guest speakers, like that those should confirm to students that what we say at a theoretical level is already in practice. So this is a synergy, teacher, student like an audience in between, and all together we produce something much more than 2 + 2, it's 5, 7 or 8. What advice would you give to students interested in studying at Vilnius University, especially in international communication program? What kind of advice would you offer them?
Know where you want to go. Keep your focus on studying, and understand that there's nothing written in the sense that don't expect to be spoon-fed by the knowledge. It's like really use this vast experience that exists, that our course offer. Just use at the most. Challenge us teachers, challenge lecturers, and lead the dialogue. Because teachers, at least I try to be just the partner of another person, usually younger than me. So as I say that I have one experience, younger generation has another experience, and this synergy, it's amazing.
Why do you think Vilnius University is a suitable place of study to them?
Not to mention that Vilnius University is the oldest university in the Baltic states, if we talk about our geographical region. So when I say oldest, it's not only the date, it means traditions, it means maturity. Ranking in ranks, it's not also takes quite a decent, honorable position, place among other European universities. The experience of our part of the world, which is usually perceived as an eastern flank countries, really have to offer a lot, and especially something much more advanced and not yet discovered. Because not yet discovered or well known to the rest of the world. So convert that into advantage, showing the special knowledge, regional knowledge, as well as regional culture. And for me, talking about security and societal resilience, it's a major advantage for the Western organizations such as NATO or European Union or any other Western organization.
Lastly, to conclude this, you are a researcher, you are a professor, you are an author, you are also an expert in political advisory, strategic communication, and security policy. What is the most fulfilling and rewarding for you?
Really, when I feel I'm really happy when I feel that there's a change. I made a small change in something and ventured into a field that is not yet fully discovered. For example, we carry out research for the second year. It's a longitudinal research on societal resilience in the Baltic states. And we compare societal resilience along the eastern flank countries from the north, Baltic Sea, down to the Black Sea region. So to identify what is how our societies tune in or tick, at what level, how individuals behave, how community behaves, how society as such behaves. It's extremely challenging and setting huge tasks, but it's rewarding.
Professor Dalia Bankauskaite, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure.
Thank you.